What's going on, everybody? My name is Terminus, and today we are going to take a look at Monster episode 4 and 5. We're gonna, first double episode. We're gonna try a double episode for once, and we will see if this is actually gonna work out, if this is gonna be a nice thing to do for us. I've noticed that the pace of Monster isn't all that super speedy, so I was like, okay, how can I bring this along, right, without rushing things, without like being I don't want to make like a 5-episode reaction and then do like a 30-minute discussion of it. There's too much interesting stuff in there to actually go over it this quickly, but I think we can do this with 2 episodes apiece. Not gonna be every time, right? Heads up, not gonna be every time, but now that it's a regular series, we're gonna just look how a double episode reaction is gonna go. Here's the plan. We're gonna look at episode 3. We're gonna very quickly go through and see if there's anything I wanna have a comment on, I wanna kind of just go into that I didn't go into last time. If I can help it, I'm not gonna repeat myself. Then we're gonna go watch episode 4. We're gonna check out how that works, right? It's gonna be a nice time. Then little interlude, we're gonna talk about episode 4, but not too long. We're just gonna summarize a little bit what we did think about the episode, what I did notice, what I wanted to talk about, maybe a tiny bit of what I'm expecting in episode 5, and then we're gonna go episode 5. After episode 5, we're gonna talk about it in a lengthy format. Hopefully this is gonna be all in all a video that's gonna stay below the 2-hour mark, and then we're gonna have our goal reached, basically. Have a thorough discussion about it at the end of episode 4 and 5. Yeah, and go on to the next one, hopefully very happy and having covered everything mostly. As far as links go, I'm probably gonna do, like, split the pips on episode 4 and 5, right? You're gonna have 2 links then, I mean, it works the same way. But yeah, without any further ado, let's talk about episode 3, shall we? And I have it prepared right here. By the way, Monster, at the very least in Germany, it's, I don't know where it's, like, where you can stream it somewhere else, maybe Crunchyroll or whatever, but in Germany it's now available on Netflix, but I only think in the German version, I'm not quite sure. Could be English subtitles. I'll actually cut that out. All right, let's see what we have here. I do love the little details that these series provide us with, right? We have that knocking on the door and just stumbling in the dark to find the lamp to actually put on the light and walk outside. Tenma being very dumbfounded by what happens to the director. He's like, what the fuck, right? What, he died? We're gonna go for full subtitles over here. Yeah, we do have a little bit of, I don't know if we looked too much into the intro and analyzed it. A lot of it is Tenma being very much fallen down, right? Which is a Tenma that we haven't seen yet. We have seen glimpses of him in the present time, right? In the past, right? Before the time skip, 9 years before that, when he was at the brink of being ousted by Dr. Heinemann and being kicked to the curb by not only his own hospital, but also the scientific community, and kind of relegated himself to being just a simple doctor and not having any aspiration and dreams that he had before, right? Dreams of research and doing good beyond just the normal helping people, which is very interesting. The train stations, it feels like an 80s, 90s criminal case thriller where the suspect is wrongfully accused of something and has to flee, or has to flee a murderer possibly as well, right? We do have that element in there. And we do have the mystery being built up, him looking into the reflection of the broken glass of the bullet going through. And I did assume that before, this is supposed to represent the bullet that Johann was hit with, and him just questioning the turn of events that happened after that. Him being in a telephone booth, being all sneaky like. A lot of the figures in the background, they're not figures we actually know, but they're figures that look very familiar and similar to what we know. Das hört man, gell? Ja, kein Problem. Yeah. I do love like the rainy I do love like the rainy background that we're having here, like a really dark setting, right? Which fits the mood of the series perfectly. We do have dust clouds or fog clouds going on. We do have raining in droves, which is oftentimes being associated with sadness and grief and death, right? And also with mystery to a degree. And it seeps of atmosphere, the entire intro, especially with the background music that you listen to and all of that. The people, the faces, I've noted that before, so I don't want to go too far into it. And here we do have the clear sign that Johann is playing a role in this down the line, and we don't know what or how. We have blue eyes, interestingly enough. I think Johann's eyes are blue, so interesting that we see reflected in those blue eyes Dr. Tenma with a gun in his hand, shooting at or pointing the gun at someone at the very least. We do have like notes of Anna Liebert and see a flash of a young woman with blonde hair looking very much like her grown-up self would look. We have a 9-year time skip. Thinking about it, I think Anna Liebert was around the age of 12 when she was admitted into hospital when the entire incident happened. So at this point she's probably going to be in her early 20s, which fits perfectly. The dark shadows reaching for you, I love that symbolism in there, and him just constantly looking about himself, right? Being almost paranoid, but possibly for a good reason, right? We like, if we talk about psychological paranoia and delusions and whatnot, it's often in the context of these things happening despite there not being anything too threatening around, right? You are starting to see conspiracies where there are none. You're starting to think that things that are arbitrary and have no connection whatsoever are connected somehow in a grand scheme, and you're starting building yourself a system, right? A system of beliefs that build upon one another that kind of involve you in a grand delusion. This is not the case here. He might very well be in a situation where he feels observed, where he feels followed, and maybe even where he feels like he might die any minute, or he might be or somebody might die any minute, that he wants to prevent that, because we do know he as a doctor is very very empathetic, and he cares a lot for people even when he maybe didn't necessarily have the opportunity to improve on their lives or to do anything different from what he actually could have, like if there's nothing that he could have done in. Yeah, it's very interesting how the hospital staff reacts to him. Everybody aside from the higher ups being Dr. Becker and Dr. Heinemann, the director, and not Dr. Becker. Dr. Becker is actually cool. All of the other ones were actually doctors that looked up to him, right? Anybody who was not of the highest order, who wasn't a chief surgeon or chief doctor in any particular field, who wasn't kind of competing with him, they looked up to him because he was somebody dependable, somebody where you immediately could see that he cares a lot about the patients, where you could immediately see that he would be working himself to the bone for people, despite maybe being kicked to the curb by the director and having any motive, having good reason to rebel against him and just not do his job properly or check out, but he didn't do it because this is the kind of person that he is. And I do assume that probably this comes also from his father, as we have heard in passing that his father is running a small clinic in Japan and he is very, very concerned about his own patients, kind of suggesting that the morality and the way they work is along the same lines. But yeah, I did note that one of the nurses, I don't know if it was this scene, but I did note that right here, that this is the nurse that actually originally complimented him and was kind of bashful about it. Seemed maybe putting him on a pedestal, right? Possibly even having a crush on him, kind of low-key. So this is very interesting. But we do see that in the entire staff. They always run to Dr. Tenma first, right? Dr. Tenma, there's this, Dr. Tenma, there's that, because he is not just skilled and talented, he's reliable. And they know that if they come to him, he's not gonna be like, look, I'm busy. Which, for the other doctors, might not apply. And now there's a crisis, right? We're in crisis mode. 3 or even 4 of our doctors suddenly mysteriously all died at the same time. Some of them should have been on shift, probably. Some of them are needed to make the crucial decisions. Some of them have the know-how to actually make the crucial decisions that they need to make in emergencies that are constantly happening. A hospital doesn't sleep, right? It's right. Our healthcare system is 24/7, and it's all just going and spinning. And in all of that, you obviously cared much about the 2 patients that got admitted here. Especially children are often something that kind of affects us personally, right? Even if we just meet them for a short time, even if we're just involved in like the operation of them for a second, or we took care of them for a day or 2, but children who have it rough, right? Something like that touches us, because children are on some level, children are very, very innocent, right? And oftentimes the misfortune that meets them is not necessarily a fault on their own, and we do know how sensitive people are in their early ages to trauma and to just disturbances in their development. So obviously we as a society would try to take care of children more than we would as adults, which was not always the case, by the way. Children until like shortly after the Industrial Revolution, children were just considered little adults, right? You didn't treat them any different from, well, tiny toddlers, but children, you didn't treat them much different than you did adults. And it kind of showed at some point. It was, I think, military thoughts, right? People strategically planning what to do with the army and how to improve on conditions there, that actually kind of triggered all of these thinking about maybe keeping children a little bit more sheltered, and maybe keeping them a little bit more safe, and having more rules and restrictions on what we can do with them early in life, so that later in life, when they turn 18 or 20, when they're ready to fight for the army, right, or ready to work, that they are not used up and completely broken to the point that you can't do much with them anymore, right? Very interesting how there's this duality between productivity, right, between the grander goal of progress in society and productivity in society, and how it at the same time grinds us down to often an unreasonable degree, but also then developments in society, be that technological or societal on a level of policies and industry and whatever, they kind of also sometimes lead to us asking these important questions, right? Noticing, hey, there's this like 25-year-old boy who has worked in the coal mines since he was 7, 6, 5 years old. Maybe we should make sure he can read and write in our modern society, and we should make sure he hasn't worked since he was 8, but maybe starts working when he's 12 or 14 or something, when he has built up some of his body, up some of his muscles, when he's developed a little bit, so his bones aren't broken before they're completely formed, his muscle aren't torn before they're completely, right? To think about these things and think maybe there's a better way to go about things, and many of these things have brought about, right, a longer lifetime for all of us, and with more productivity, because obviously technology keeps evolving. But yeah, it's only recently in the recent centuries that these concerns about like not just, right, in the beginning it was about usability, about pragmatism, right, about saving resources, human resources in this regard, but more and more it also became a moral question, right? And also a question of education. We have noticed that the countries that are the most advanced, aside from their obvious exploitation of other countries, which is a whole different can of worms, were actually the countries that educated their youth, that brought them up to think for themselves and be creative and try to improve on things on their own, right? Find their own passions and develop. So yeah, very interesting tangent. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, we got the funeral. A lot of people there. I said that the last time. I don't think that a lot of these are very, very sad about the director dying, aside from them being like, damn, I had connections to this guy, now I have to suck up to whoever is going to be the director now. Even the woman here, like, I think she definitely is sad that her father is dead, but at the same time we do have that existential threat coming in for her, because she never had to work an honest day in her life. So what is she gonna do now? Her father's not gonna make money for her constantly anymore. She has kind of dropped Tenma, right? Tenma would have been a potentially successful person that she could have married. Also funny, I think the other doctor she was kind of low-key flirting with, that after she dropped Tenma, was also murdered in this whole kerfuffle. So very interesting. I do love the shots through the trees, which is like almost us as viewers, like a bird watching the whole procession, like the crows waiting. Kind of morbid, but you know what it is. You know how it is. Yeah, and this guy, he looks very clever. He looks very, very, very much like a bloodhound almost, right? If you think about it, like all the narrow. I said it last time. The sharp form in which he is drawn. Tenma, if you look in comparison, is a lot more round over here. He still has the chin, right, which makes him attractive and makes him seem more masculine, but he does have that slight rounding here, and the eyes are round as well, which expresses softness, empathy, emotion. Yeah, his weird thing where he's typing stuff in his head, which I think is a little bit a little bit for show. I wouldn't believe a person if they did something like this in reality, but I do definitely believe that there is an inspiration coming from this, right? That the person would kind of think about how to write it out, and then it's easier to memorize these things, just as it's easier to learn for something like a test or an exam or whatever, if you're writing something down, right? Or if you're transferring the information in some capacity. We do have that little competition going on between the Bundeskriminalamt and the local police, who actually do want to solve this case, but then they're like, damn, now they are gonna take over. It's kind of like in the US as well, right? FBI and state state or city police or whatever, and then you get those jurisdiction kind of squabbles going on, because at some point some case might be too big or too scandalous for just the local authorities to handle, but the local authorities still want to be responsible for that case, obviously, because it happened on their turf, it happened in their home, kind of, right? And they kind of feel like not only do they want to do the people justice over here, and they know the people better, the people living in the city, but also feels like oftentimes people who are in those higher agencies and people who are more on the street level, they don't get along all too well. There's a lot of elements in there. We have competition, we have them just not trusting each other to a degree, right? Because oftentimes people who have a higher position talk down on other people, even if they don't do it purposefully, right? Either out of a sense of pride of your own occupation, or out of a sense of, yeah, I kind of low-key, I know more than you, right? And I've learned more than you, and I can make more connections than you. It might not apply to everybody. There might be a very clever detective within the local police who has it all figured out, and maybe even has observations and conclusions that they are coming to that are very good and better than maybe even like an agent of whatever agency is going to take this over. But at the same time, there is obviously always this conflict going on. But yeah, we do have she expressing her support for Tenma here, which I do like that. Sometimes people just, like, life just throws you a curveball, right? You get kicked out from your post, suddenly mysteriously some people die, and suddenly you're back in the business, not because you just have to take over at this point, but because the new person in charge is like, you know what, I just care about results. I don't want, like, the politics and whatever. And I can believe that, right? There's people like that in any kind of in some CEO positions or whatever, that are like, okay, you deliver results, you're very talented, you got everything under control, people trust you, you're the man for it. But now he's under suspicion, right? Yeah, not a lot to talk here. She's obviously, on the one hand, she's seeking warmth. She's going for that familiar connection that she already had, right? And she already was intimate with Tenma, which then it makes sense that in a moment of weakness, in a moment of emotional disturbance and sadness, you would turn to somebody or something that feels familiar and safe, and also kind of comforting, right? But that connection got burned when she dropped him like hot coals, right? And he learned his lesson. He got burned, and he was like, nah, I'm out. She'll have to accept that. I do love that reflection. The reflection while they're walking, and the two doctors behind, they're looking very, very tentatively to Dr. Tenma, who is in charge now and is being trusted. And now we have our time skip. Köln in what year was it? I'll see that. Köln in 1995. Was already born at that time. Cool. Yeah. And he's a clever man. He's making connections. He has this guy who Juncker, who is, yeah, he seems to have been on a couple of crime scenes. He wants to see if he was involved in it, or if he was maybe at least a witness, right? Was doing some shady stuff on the side and noticed a couple of these crime scenes. Maybe had the same targets. That's also possible, right? We have that little moment with the kite. Two purposes here. On the one hand, we do see what a not great, but what a nice person Dr. Becker is in relation to Dr. Tenma. There's no like extreme jealousy going on or whatever. He feels probably a little bit envious of his talent, but other than that, he's just a nice friend, and he's getting annoyed that he's like, dude, you're going out with this women, whatever. You're not doing anything because you're married to your job. Come on, dude, you gotta live a little bit. And he's not wrong. but he likes him a lot, right, as a doctor, and he wants the best for him. That's what I truly believe at this point in time. And we do see another symbol of Tenma just connecting to people and being down to earth and being able to interact with them on a level where they feel like he cares about them, which we as the audience also believe at this point. And I say it as if that belief is going to be betrayed, but I doubt it. So let's not go into that. And we have another operation. They're studying, right? They're looking at what he's doing, because what he's doing is at the cutting edge, right? It is very difficult to do, and they're taking notes. There probably a decent amount of new doctors as well that are looking in on his operations and whatnot. We do see this. This is kind of a little bit of a weird shot, but it could be because this is the 4K upscale version. We do have the traffic lights. By the way, I don't know. I don't even know if you guys have that, right? For us, traffic light is not just red and green, it's red, yellow, and green. And you do have, like, it's green, obviously you can go, right? It's red, you have to stop. But the moment when it turns from red to green, you actually have the yellow, which is you're on the red, it turns yellow, it tells you, okay, now you can start driving, right? You can turn on your motor, or you can get ready to drive. And then like a second later it turns green, but it's a nice way to kind of prepare you to actually do it. And the same goes when it's turning red, right? It is green and then it turns yellow and then red. Interestingly enough, in terms of like our street rules, our traffic rules, right? Or traffic rules. If you're crossing a traffic light on yellow, you don't get punished for it, right? Only if you cross it on red. Because when it's on red, obviously, you can get a fine for that, or even, right, if you do it often enough, you'll lose your papers. But yeah, interestingly enough, at least as far as I know, I've seen that a good deal of the US and also other countries don't do that. But I think it's very, very cool. It's actually, it makes perfect sense for me. But yeah, I don't know, Bloods, I don't even know on what, right? We do see the traffic lights on yellow and red, but obviously that is metaphorical, right? Interesting. Again, I keep getting distracted, but I do see like the sign on the building over here, and it says 𝐏𝐢𝐏𝐬𝐧. This could be like an abbreviation, obviously, because they don't want to do any trademark stuff, but this could be Commerzbank, actually, which is like a bank over here, especially like in Europe and whatever. And they just changed the M to an N. Very, very interesting. Yeah, the last letter is like halfway obscured, but it looks like a B, so it could very well be like a bank. And he drives into Juncker, supposedly Juncker. I don't know if he doesn't even look like Juncker, so maybe he is actually another guy who, I don't even know. No, actually, Juncker came into the hospital, so either those are two different things happening, right? Either those are two different incidents happening and we're supposed to be a little bit confused or assume it's Juncker, or Juncker had a lot of hair grown, actually. We do have that little standoff between the detective and Tenma, and it's very funny for us because we know, I say we know, but 99% we know that Tenma is not responsible for it, and that his responses make perfect sense when he's not responsible for it. But for him, the detective, some of this might also seem suspicious. Makes him just bite into it more, right? Like a bloodhound. And he's throwing out the bait. He's trying to get him rattled, but you're still getting rattled to a degree, but if you are not guilty, then there's not much to be rattled about, right? That being said, obviously there could be a huge, like, giant twist where Tenma is kind of responsible for some of that, but I don't believe that we have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation here. It looks very much like it is connected to Johann and whatever political plot or non-political plot is going on over there. So yeah. And we have Junker who is saying like, the monster is coming. Title drop. Change, right? Finish the series. It's done. We're done. Yeah. That was actually longer than I wanted to, as it always is. But we'll, whatever, dude. Whatever. We're just gonna roll with it. Before we jump into the episode, pip in the description down below. As always, check out the Discord, check out the Patreon, give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's head into it. All right, Monster episode 4 starts in a 3, a 2, a 1. Looks almost like an apartment building, but yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, wait. This could be like an inner courtyard, right? I'm stupid, okay? I'm stopping this fucking thing like 2 seconds in. Look at this. This could be like an inner courtyard, because you have that a lot in hospitals, that you do have like structures where you do have like walls on all sides, and you have like an inner courtyard to get a little bit of fresh air, right? Obviously, there's no wind going at something like that. It's kind of stupid, right? I do love like the roof terraces and stuff like that. The problem with that is, since like, you know, the unalive things have become rather well known and also like frequent in terms of like incidents here and there, they've stopped doing that. I mean, there's still some, and they're being like fenced in and whatever, but they don't like to do that as much, I think. All right, Mr. Junker. Is this the conversation we had earlier? Oh yeah, this is the one. And bro is very unresponsive. And he's just mumbling to himself, so he's kind of stuck in his own head. Question is it the brain damage, or is it something else, right? Or is it like the trauma, the potential trauma, right? He was running from somebody or something. And he calls it the monster. We need German, right? We need this to be in German, okay? It needs to be authentic. Oh, take me away, sweet choir music. Disturb my soul. It's strangely calming, that music. I mean, the atmosphere is uneasy, but I do like the music. Like, kind of reminds me of some of the music they used on like mystery shows back in the day. Crazy how, I wonder how they did that shot, because it's very unique looking shot. Yeah, that is definitely our Detective Lunge. A wine glass. Wonder what that could mean. I'd love the background noise so far.
過去2年間に起きた4件の中年夫婦殺人事件、そのうち3件の現場近くでお前は目撃されてるんだがね。
Not all 4, interesting.
どうなんだ？アドルフ・ユンケルス。
Also interesting they named him Adolf. Like, holy shit.
ただ鍵を開けることだけだ。あれだけ見事に被害者の首を横一文字に切り裂くような真似はお前にはできない。
He doesn't think he was the murderer because it's too precise of a murder.
最低3人必要だ。厳重な鍵を開け、中年夫婦2人を無抵抗の状態で殺害するためにはな。
He's kind of spinning the tail, right? They need to be many, or maybe have known the couple.
だから絞るのは時間の問題だ。お前が喋ろうが喋る前がね。
So he thinks Junkers is working with somebody else.
本当に聞きたいのはそんなことじゃない。何のためにドイツ全州にまたがり4件もの、それも子供のない中年夫婦ばかりを殺害したのか。
Without children. Maybe some morality, right? Some conscience in there. Because you don't want to leave the children orphaned.
ここで証言すればお前は罪を免れる。
Plea deals?
お前たちにこの仕事を依頼したのは
He's too afraid. Whether he was involved or not, I don't think he was even directly involved.
ユンケルスさん、もういいんだ。取り調べはここまでにしていただきます。
いや、もう一絞りだ。
出て行ってください。
He wants to push.
ま、いいでしょう。日を改めましょう。ただし、毒殺されたり失踪したりしないよう。
Again, a stab at Tenma, right?
あなたの周りではなぜか偶然いろんなトラブルが起きるようですから。
Indeed.
何が言いたいんですか。
ジョークですよ。では、失礼。
It's not. It's not a joke. Very unlikely to sue somebody for defamation because of that, so... Especially if it's a detective.
散歩ですよ。
勝手な真似をされては困ります。
患者だって気晴らしが必要なんです。庭に出るだ
I mean, you can come along.
けですか。
Did he go with him? What if he didn't?
暖かくて気持ちのいい日だな。
Yeah, I mean, nature does wonders for us.
たまにはこういう時がないとやりきれなくなるんだ。毎日人の生き死にを目の前にしているよね。
Secondhand, that's stressful as well.
出世や自分の研究のことだけ考えている方が楽なのさ。私も以前はそうだった。
He sees it like this.
研究をする。手術を成功させるのは地位を固める手段だってね。
That's how we're taught, right?
きっかけで私は変わったんだ。
And this changed him.
お兄ちゃんでね。頭部を銃撃されたその子を助けることで、私は医者の本部に立ち返ることができたんだ。人の命の重さはみんな一緒だ。医者はその命を助けるのが仕事だってね。
Yeah, right. The Hippocratic Oath. You need an appreciation for life if you
今からでも遅くない。
got a calling as a doctor. Really. And I think that's also important in others.
先生と俺、あんまり年違わないけど、先生、親父みたいだ。
You're like my old man,
先生
alright.
は俺の命救ってくれた。俺の親みたいな感じがする。
いきなりでかい子供ができたもんだな。
俺、子供の時欲しかったんだ。からくり時計、ちょうど時刻になると、ぴょこぴょこくるみ割り人形が飛び出してくるやつ。
Alright.
毎日それが欲しくて、時計屋のショーウィンドウに顔をひっつけてた。
Did he steal it?
一番最初にやった錠前破りがその店さ。
Yeah.
その時はすぐに捕まって時計は手に入らなかった。でもそれから錠前破りが俺の仕事になった。あれが欲しかっただけなのに、俺は
全部話すんだ。警察に全部話して一からやり直すんだ。
Of course, that's what he would say. But he's too afraid.
殺された。仲間全部殺された。
They were all killed. They were a team and they were killed.
君の言っていたモンスターにか。
Is he gonna be able to say it? Ooh, that's an interesting shot, right? The way the lines were kind of drawn. Oh, of course he takes him to like probably the red light district or... Oh no, it's okay. Alright, he's not going that far.
でもそうだな。
But they go out strolling.
身を固めなきゃ。
そうだろう。よじゃあ、
And he noticed, oh, a clock, of course, of course. Maybe he's gonna buy it for him.
ぴょこぴょこくるみ割り人形が飛び出してくるやつ。
Damn, that is an ugly nutcracker.
すいません。このショーウィンドウの。
おい、なんだよ。
And he cares more about his patients than he does about his own life, his private life. Wonder if it's...
今からでも遅くない。
I wonder if he's gonna live to see that clock or if he's gonna get killed. No policeman.
その代わりドクター天馬も呼んでくれないか。
Ooh, and he's gone.
おまわりさん。
Hmm. Yeah, bro's been killed. And Tenma's gonna discover it and people will be like, Tenma, you were alone.
でもいいかな。
はい、どうぞドクターテンマ。何ですかそれ。
いいもの見つけたんだ。
The string just keeps... It just keeps going, right? So the question is, why does the killer do it?
おい、どうした？しっかり。死んでる。
Ooh,
キャンディ。
candy again.
ユンケルさん。
Is he gonna be able to stop it? Oh, he's still alive. Okay. Okay, that's big.
あの時と同じだ。
We take these.
キャンディによる毒殺。9年前のあの時と一緒だ。
Come on, Tenma. Lock in.
ユンケルさん。
Oh, is he gonna run in front of a car? No, construction site. Okay. Tenma, you need to call somebody. You need to be like, look, this is what happened. They're gonna find the cop and they're gonna be like, oh, Tenma's done it again.
私です。天馬です。先生。しちゃダメだ、先生。ユンケルさん、大丈夫だから。ダメだ、先生。しちゃダメだ。
Should have.
こいつを見ちゃダメだ、先生。こいつ？仲間を殺したのはこいつだ。先生も殺される。
And he's in the dark, but we know it is, right?
ダメだ、先生。しちゃダメだ。
お久しぶりですね、先生。
Ooh, and he's identifying himself.
9年前、先生は僕の命を助けてくれたでしょう。もう忘れちゃったかな、あの時の双子のことなんて。
ヨハン。
And he's gonna try and appeal to him, right?
そうだよ。あの双子だよ。覚えていてくれたんだね。
逃げろ。先生もやられる。何をするつもりだ。ユンケルさんは私の患者だぞ。
何って。
A gun. Crude.
処刑だよ。
やめろ。先生、逃げるんだ。こいつに仲間殺されたんだ。いつもこいつから電話がかかってきた。一仕事終わると高額の報酬が振り込まれて。
Contract killing even, right?
中年夫婦殺しの依頼人は君なのか。俺が警察に目つけられたから、こいつ俺たちが邪魔になったんだ。ナイフ使いのフリッツも男のボリスももうこいつに殺す。
Those names.
俺たちはモンスターに雇われたって。こいつは人を殺すことなんて何とも思っちゃいないんだ。逃げろ、先生。
おしゃべりだな、ユンケルスは。
よせ。やめるんだ、ヨハン。ユンケルさんは君の正体を知らないようだが、私は知ってる。私は君の主治医だったんだ。君はヨハン・リーベルト、双子の兄弟の兄だ。1986年、東ドイツから亡命してきた元。
East Germany, yeah.
これだけの素性が分かっていたら逃げ延びることは不可能だぞ。これ以上罪を重ねるな、ヨハン。
ヨハンか。そういう名前の時もあったっけ。
Not his real name? I mean, he could have forged an identity now.
名前じゃない。
どういうことだ
Okay.
僕の過去を知っちゃいけないんだ。あの4組の夫婦も、リーベルと夫妻も。
Oh, the Liebers weren't his original parents, maybe?
先生は別だよ。先生は
And he wants to keep him alive, of course.
先生は僕の親みたいなものだもの。
親私が
だって先生がいなければ僕はここにいないんだから。
Guilt by association, and he's gonna feel that.
人を殺しちゃいけない。
なぜ
なぜだと。人の命を何だと思っているんだ。私は君の命を助けることで医者の本部に立ち返ることができたんだぞ。人の命の重さは全て平等だって気づいたんだぞ。誰も人の命を奪う資格なんかない。
That's how it should be, right?
俺を心に刻んで医者として生きてきたんだ。
But is it gonna reach him? No.
何がおかしい。
Of course, it's gonna start to rain.
あの事件の後すぐに外科部長になったんだって。本当によかった。先生が外科部長に昇進して。
Alright.
院長や外科部長やチーフが死んだから今の先生
Ooh, and he said he was the one, right?
だった。
Or at least implying it.
まさか君が
As a child,
先生が言ったんじゃない。先生が望んだんじゃない。
when he was talking to him,
時先生は言ってたじゃない。
he would be better off dead.
殺したいほど憎んでたじゃない。
僕は間違ってなんかいない。死んだ方がマシだ。マシだ。
Be careful what you're saying and who's listening.
先生の望み通りにしてあげたんだよ。
Is he gonna try to throw himself in between? No. Bro did triple tap. Holy fuck. I didn't think that this would like come up this early.
僕はあの時死んでいたはずだったんだ。先生が僕を生き返らせてくれたんだ。
And all the years is I'm guilty. I created a monster. I love the voice, by the way. It's so calm and young and soft spoken. It really gets under your skin. So what is he gonna do now? He didn't call anybody. I mean, he can tell them everything, but...
事件の証拠がすっかり洗い流されてしまいますからね。あなたはどうです、ドクター天馬。
Bro is out of it.
ということはですよ。あなたの言ったことをまとめるとこうだ。少年のオペを執刀し、彼の位置。
And we're repeating what we know.
しかし、その少年は驚いたことに、病院の院長、外科部長、チーフの3人を毒入りのキャンディーで殺害し逃亡。彼はなんと9年ぶりに姿を現し、州警察の警官をまたもや毒入りのキャンディーで殺害し、そしてあなたの目前でアドルフ・ユンケルスを射殺した。
Is he gonna believe him though?
彼の名はヨハン・リーベルト。とまあ、こういうわけですな。
That's all he knows.
今日のところはお引き取りいただこう。
Obviously can't pin anything on him yet.
警官の死亡時刻にはアリバイがあるし、手からも硝煙反応が出なかったんです。
Yeah, I mean the evidence speaks against him.
とりあえずヨハン・リーベルトというやつを当たってみますか、ルンゲ警部。
Yeah, he don't buy it. And Tenma is, once again, like a roller coaster. He already looks a little bit like he does in the intro. It's eating him up. Man. Bro makes all the right decisions and still... I mean, the morally right decisions might not be the right decisions in the end. I'm gonna let it play out, as always. This image, where it's hunched over with the arms hanging almost to the ground. Inhuman proportions, kind of. And the grimace almost like a mask. In an old Grimm's fairy tale. My god, bro is looking even worse for wear. Right. We'll do a short pause, then we talk about it, and then episode 5. Alright, fast and dirty, right? I didn't think we would have these developments so early in the series that Dr. Tenma would get to know that, right? We hint at the monster, we repeat what we've done before. Intro, really cool, as always. We do have Inspector Lunge present for the interrogation this time. I do love the detail on his hair, by the way, when we do have the little peak and then like just the 3 hairs there. Amazing, but obviously in Lunge's perspective, all of this could look like Dr. Tenma sitting by as the doctor and being like, you better not talk, boy, right? All of this is incriminating him more and more. And he's spinning the tale. He's saying like, you couldn't have opened the lock on your own. It would have needed more people to overwhelm the, or you could have opened the lock on your own, but it's really doubtful because the locks were strong or whatever, right? And doing this silently and alone is kinda not right, and then overwhelming everybody and killing them. And we look at him as like this poor patient, and Dr. Tenma does the same thing, but we have to keep in mind that after the fact, right, after the episode, we know he actually killed people, right? I mean, maybe not he himself, but he was directly complicit in doing it. They broke in, they killed these people. All of these people didn't have children, interestingly enough, right? So I do wonder if this is just Johan wanting to kill, right? Having the urge to kill, right? To live out his own desires, his own whatever, right? Or if this has a reason, if this is targeted, right? If these were people that Johan knows about and knows and has a purpose for killing them, right? We do have to figure that out down the line at some point. But Junkers here is still very disturbed by what he saw. Not disturbed, but maybe in fear, right? He's not. It's not like he can't talk, but he's frozen solid, right? He narrowly escaped with his life. He had a major accident, which is also not gonna help, right? Especially depending on where in the brain the damage is or was, and now he's fearing for his life, right? We do have to zoom in on the eyes, really nice. I do love like all the hospital equipment we see around it in some of the shots. Some of this really reminds me some of the old cinema tricks that some of the more famous directors used when things are getting passed in the background, and we do see the scene but from a different angle, and the different angle reveals to us something that is supposed to be in the foreground for us and in the background for the other characters. But yeah, he's putting a police guard on. He has him locked in, right? He doesn't trust him at all, which, yeah, from his perspective, this is how it looks. Policeman is not going with them, interestingly enough. Tenma just wants him to chill out, and this is very important, right? Being in nature, enjoying the fresh air, right? Enjoying a quiet moment to recuperate, because rehabilitation is often underestimated, especially when it comes to blunt trauma to the brain, but also with any kind of operation or accident, right? Anything you had, it's very good to have these quiet, stressless moments, which he doesn't, but you know, stressless moments in which you can relax, because it gives your body the pause to actually recover, right? Regenerate, put up all these defenses again, right? The immune system and whatever. You had damage to a part of your body. There's gonna be invaders. There's gonna be like bacteria, viruses, whatever. There's gonna be the mental stuff, right? That comes with it. A scary near-death experience. We do I think in clinical psychology, I don't know if it's the specific definition, but we do definitely define a traumatic experience as an experience that is a near-death experience, right? That doesn't need to be like a direct near-death experience. It can be a near-death experience in the sense of like you're getting told that you have cancer, 4th stage, right? Nothing we can do about it. You have 2 months left, right? That's a near-death experience if you survive it, right? And while you're waiting for it to happen, that's a near-death experience that's putting you in constant stress, right? And trauma is oftentimes extreme, intense stress. That is a learning experience in a way, right? Be that SA, right? PA, we're talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Be that just the general trauma of war, that's what you see a lot, right? PTSD, whatever. Or be that something that might maybe to a couple of us seem minor because we've experienced it maybe partially or in a different form, in a lighter form, or at a stage in life when we were already more collected and had more of an experience to kind of build up that mental resilience to actually get through it. But if you experience very, very traumatic, very emotionally high, intense and stressful situations at a specific point in time when you are in development, that is obviously a very, very problematic thing. And I do wonder if Johan has some of that, or if he was like that from the beginning. We'll talk about that after episode 5, I think. Yeah, Junkers here, afraid for his life, but shares with Dr. Tenma because he feels like that Tenma is the kind of person who cares about his patients, right? And he saved his life, right? He's very grateful for that, at least. It's like you're kind of talking like my old man. You're kind of like feel like a parent at this point, at the moment, right? And I do assume it's been a couple of days or weeks. But he's talking about like how he killed all of them, right? He's like, he killed all of my comrades. All of that shit went down. I don't know what to do. Obviously, Tenma, like, I do love this. Like I said, it's almost like the old TVs, right? That you have the static going in, the vertical lines. Really, really well done. I don't know if that's intentional or if it's actually because of the footage. Because obviously when Monster was around, when Monster was new, most of the screens that we had were still like... But I don't know enough about the technology to say that for sure. But if it's like intentional, it's really, really well done. And always with the good zoom-ins on like him holding, right? Almost as if he doesn't want to say it, right? Almost as if he wants to keep himself from throwing up or whatever, right? His stomach twisting. A sign of fear, right? And intense stress. If you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do with yourself, and you're afraid or extremely stressed, or you fear like you're about to die soon. That's a panic attack almost. I mean, it wasn't a full-blown one, but definitely he has been feeling a lot of panic here. Dr. Becker's trying to cheer Tenma up, but obviously Tenma's mind is somewhere else, and he immediately gets drawn to that nutcracker clock, which is like, okay, I'm gonna buy that for my patient, and in the middle of the night he's actually gonna come in with a present and trying to make him feel better. And I was like, I don't know if he's gonna survive that until Tenma's here, but he did, because he ran away, right? Police officer poisoned with candy. Come on, dude, why you... I mean, he could have shoved it in, but... Holy shit, dude. Yeah, and the nurse saw him, so it's like, we do also know we don't have a gunpowder on his hands, right? Dr. Becker has his alibi, so technically it shouldn't be a thing, but obviously there's a little bit of doubt here that it's like, it's still possible. It's not impossible. And they didn't catch him until now, so obviously the, yeah, all of this is gonna go in and, make him more and more suspicious, especially since he doesn't call anybody. Holy shit, dude, call somebody. Amazing shot, look at that. The shadow of the defense, right? The shadow of Tenma himself, you see where the light is coming from, and you have this hallway that is getting darker and darker that we are looking out from. Tenma not in the light, right? The light shines on his back. His front is very dark. And he's going up those dreadful stairs, and it's getting like, obviously Junker's like, dude, you're such a nice guy. Please just stay away. I don't want you to die as well. And then we meet Johann. It's like, and he immediately remembers the name. Of course he does, because that's been ruminating in his head, because they flew, right? They were gone and they didn't know where the twins were. I wonder what he's been up to all this time. I mean, he's been supposedly I mean, he says it himself. He's been murdering the chief at this young age, so holy shit. First of all, he needs to be very intelligent to do that, for nobody to really figure it out. Right? You have potential witnesses, you have potential, like, things to take care of and whatnot. Obviously, nobody's gonna suspect the child, but if there's, like, people having seen that, it would have been at least a little bit suspicious. But here he is, and he's been continuing to murder. This is a crude way, but for him, I guess it's just a way to get rid of somebody who is a potential witness, who has seen his face, who knows who he is. But for the doctor, he's not doing that. He's like, I owe you my life. I ain't doing that. And obviously he's like, people aren't gonna believe you, and Johann Liebert is not my real name, which we do not know. He could have very well lied and been like, right, if I tell him Johann Liebert is not my name, he'll think it's useless information. But I do very much believe, if he says it, lean on the side of believing that Johann Liebert is actually not his name. So what is his name, right? Why was he called Johann Liebert in the thing? Why did they identify him as such? Is Johann Liebert somewhere else, and he might be but he's not a doppelganger, right? There's not two Johann Lieberts, right? There was just one when they went over from East Germany to West Germany when they defected, when they were shown in the press. Maybe he has been kept secret and he killed his brother, but that's very unlikely, right? So we do have this connection of, like, yes, the Lieberts took him. Is he an adoptive son? But they're twins supposedly, so, right? If they're supposedly twins, then either both not the Lieberts' children, or alternatively, there's something else going on that I can't put together yet. But yeah, and he opens that up. I didn't think we get that information at that point, or at least I didn't think that Tenma would get this information. But obviously this is gonna ruin him. This is gonna destroy him. Like, at the end of the episode, he already looks... The rain, it's beautiful, right? It's beautiful rain. I do wonder why he said, like, I was supposed to die at that point, if that was a thing of, like, him maybe trying to do something that would lead to his own death, or him maybe, like, his parents wanting to kill him, or somebody else, or something else wanting to kill somebody else wanting to kill him, and that's why the Lieberts got shot. Or if it was just the general meaning of, like, I was shot, right? I was shot in the head. I was supposed to die, but I woke up, and you had saved my life. And I do wonder if him killing people, if that was a thing before he got shot in the head, or if it just started when he got shot in the head, operated, and then retained the damage. But yeah, look at that. Soft eyes, right? Soft-spoken voice. There's no malice in there. Just calculation, I guess, right? And supposedly the lack of empathy. Though he himself has feelings, of course, we saw that when he was emotional at his sister fleeing from him. But that doesn't mean he can empathize with other people, or that doesn't mean that he, I suppose, cares about other people's feelings. Yeah, and he goes to the police, the right thing to do, but obviously they keep suspecting him, and he is worse for wear already. Love the thing he has in his hair, that like the special art style they use with like the draw lines that we see every time we see him. It makes him very recognizable as a character, as opposed to anybody else we would be seeing that has black hair in his general statue. All right, old man in the window. I'm not gonna look at that. We're just gonna go right in. See you on episode 5. Tit for tat. Nice. All right. Monster episode 5 starts. I'm sorry. Monster episode 5. You didn't even see that. Why am I apologizing? Starts in a 3, a 2, a 1, a bam. And this looks like somebody. Oh, university, right? Seems pretty clear. Heidelberg? Right, Stuttgart is mentioned. A little bit of casual racism. Sorry, bro, I was out drinking. And she's gonna burst in. No, okay. I thought so. Oh, okay, a little bit delayed.
遅刻常習犯のお出ましだな。13分の遅刻か。今日はピザの宅配のアルバイトがことさら忙しかったようだ。
Holy shit, public shaming.
さて、席に着く前に質問しよう。君はシュトゥットガルト事件の判決の基準を述べる体力は残っているかね？
Alright.
はい。
She knows.
被告人は誘拐そのものが狂言であり、被害者の死亡はあくまで事故であると主張しました。
Oh, law.
殺害については確かに事故によるものであると認定されました。よって殺人には故意がなければならないとの根拠から懲役15年の判決が下されたものと思われます。
She learned herself, I guess.
結構だ。着席したまえ、ニナ・ホルトナー君。
Not. I mean, she might have a different name now.
はい、教授。
Nina Fortner. Adoptive family, right? Makes sense. Alright. Maybe sitting out of frame a little bit here. So she's a student, we don't know where, but she's studying law, supposedly. At least that's what it seemed like. I got myself something to eat, by the way. And some croquettes. Interesting that she would start up law. I'm not gonna speculate. We're just gonna see where her, if she does share her character motivation down the line. Heidelberg, indeed. It was more of a guess, okay? Alright, already hitting on her. He's like, sorry about that, I'm out. Ooh, alright. Karate or something similar? I'm just guessing karate. Oh no, judo. That's judo. I don't know how realistic this is because in Germany back in the day, pizza deliveries. We don't have that much of a delivery culture anyway. I mean, maybe in... But not... Not in Baden-Württemberg, though. Right? Right, so adoptive mother?
全くいい年してそんな金ピカに染めて。
そんなことないよパパ、素敵じゃない。いつまでも若いっていいことじゃない。ただいまパパ。今日子供たちが仮装行列してたよ。
お、聖ハドリアヌス祭の仮装行列だな。
parades.
子供の時ああいう仮装したかったな。すっごく可愛いんだもん。
ああ、仮装ならしたわよ。ねえパパ。
お、そうだそうだ。
Oh, doesn't... Oh, maybe she's not Liebert.
これよこれ。
本当だ。
その時あなたはしゃいで大騒ぎしてたのよ。
Weird.
お、そうだな。
His reaction is also weird, and her reaction is weird too. She doesn't remember it, right? And she looks like the one in the picture looks younger than she does in the hospital, so weird. Oh, holy shit. You remember when computers looked like this? I mean, you don't have to remember too hard because schools had these for forever, looking like that. Oh, those are in German. Oh, dude, poetry. But who is it? I was born to blanket you in flowers. Oh. Sweet summer child, right? Times when this was still adorable and not creepy.
よかった。まあ、君がカウンセリングルームに入ってきた時の表情で元気なのは分かったけどね。で、あの夢はもう。
So she had dreams.
現れるモンスターの夢は。
はい。最近は夢見てる暇もないくらいぐっすり眠っちゃって、なんであんな夢に毎日うなされてたんだろう。
Nightmares.
に対する夢や不安がごちゃ混ぜになって、自分が何者であるかなんて一生かかってもわからないんだ。一生かけてそれを見つけていくつもりで。
Maybe we'll check this apart. What you're saying here. Bro here doing the groundwork.
ニナ・フォルトナ、本当に明るい子だ。だが、あの明るさは何かから逃げようとする反動のように思えてならない。何か大きな闇から。
Ominous.
じゃないわよ。とぼけちゃってペーター。
I mean, Mr. Counselor knows her longer than we do. So I can't say if what he's saying is kind of like just oddly specific and weird, but obviously with spending some time with somebody, you at some point you get a feeling for maybe more than the surface level stuff hiding underneath, right? If there's stuff going on. And if she had bad dreams, obviously that's already an indicator, but this seems like, I don't want to go too much into it because it's cool in terms of like TV and whatnot, but it seems really a lot like 80s, 90s way to kind of foreshadow whatever we want to put out there for it to later pay off. And be kind of like a cool way to put it and be like, oh, this guy is smart and he's like a counselor and he's kind of figuring it out halfway, right? That there's something more to that. But I wouldn't express it this way. It's kind of a little bit toony, but it's okay. And he's gonna say, I don't know anything. Yeah.
そんなことは逆立ちしたって俺の頭から出てこないよ。
じゃあ誰？私のメールアドレス。
Okay, this is why she was so carefree.
分かったのはまた俺の恋のライバルが増えたってことだけさ。
一体誰なの？
Your brother? Who you don't know?
この猟奇的殺人事件だが、
Munich. Alright,
犯人
München.
はまず両親を銃によって殺害した後、二人の子供を紐で考察している。
Ooh.
さて、この公判の記録から裁判官の判断を解説。
All murder cases, interestingly enough. Maybe it's like the specific class she's in.
ないのかね。
いえ、この公判の焦点は被告人による
Everything distorts. She's starting to.
証拠が
No, yeah. She's cramping up.
ニナでも答えられない時があるのかい？
Yeah, bro, she should have noticed immediately. She's not doing well.
ニナ、
This is a panic
ど
attack.
うしたんだ、ニナ。ニナ。
大丈夫。ちょっと気分悪くなっただけだから。
Yeah. Something got triggered, right? Because it has similarities.
猟奇事件のことか？
やめて。
Yeah.
なんだ、気の強いやつと思ってたけど、案外デリケートなんだな。
Nothing delicate about that.
そうだ、カウンセラーのガイテル先生ならきっとこう言うよ。原因をたどれば大したことないものだよ。さあ、子供の頃のことを思い出してごらんってね。
She doesn't remember her childhood, as I thought.
天の記憶がないの。
I do wonder if this is a confusion or if the parents just kept it from her, right? But why are they showing her pictures from when she was younger? If, right, who's the child in the picture, and why would they go as far as to do that? She's feeling something is wrong, and she's getting mysterious messages. Why? But why now all of a sudden, right? Maybe he just located her children. Maybe they were separated when they had to be taken in by other families.
そういえばいたわ、男の子が一人。確かミハエルって子よ。2年ぐらい一緒に暮らしてたわ。
男の子いたっけな、そんなの。
いましたよ。
入るね。いたような気がするな。で、何？あんた警察？
はい、ミハエル・ライヒマン。確かにその子は私のクラスにいました。
Alright, who is asking? I apologize if I totally blinked and missed that, but...
それに記録も残ってないんです。実は6年前に火事で焼けてしまって。
Oh yeah, Tenma is asking, okay. So he's doing investigating.
ミハエルという名の少年がいた。
In Cologne, Mikhail.
ミハエルの本当の名は。
Interesting that they use Mikhail, right? This sounds to me like Eastern European. Because otherwise it would be Michael.
だがそれを知って何になる。知ったところで、あいつは殺人を繰り返す双子の兄。ただそれ。
I mean, if you know the names, you can kind of track it back, right? Trying to make up for your sins, is it?
そうだ、妹は。双子の妹は。
Exactly, but these like, I will come for you soon. Ich werde dich bald abholen, okay?
どういうことなの？
Because maybe only now he has the authority and the freedom to actually do so. But these files are often kept very anonymously.
どんな子って、ずいぶん前の話よ。それも1年ぐらいしか一緒に暮らしてなかったし。
A year.
覚えてることなんて何もないわ。
その子は妹を連れていませんでしたか？
男の子一人よ。とにかくもうあのご夫婦の事件は忘れたいの。あの時は引っ越そうかと思ったぐらいなんだから。
So, various couples he stayed with were murdered as well. Ooh, an old man remembers. Thank God, the nosy old man.
おかけなさい。
So many people with blue eyes. There's some war photos. Okay. Looks like Navy. I mean, just looks more like Air Force.
いただきます。
あんた医者だろ?
How could you tell? Ooh, okay, so he talked to the boy. And now he has the clue. He's like, it has to be that. Creepy. Yeah, I would be concerned, even back in those days.
またニナの無双癖が始まった。君を花で埋め尽くすために僕は生まれた。今時そんな言葉遣いする子なんていないわよ。
Not in any age.
見慣れない男の子いるじゃない？あ、いるいる。
Ooh, okay.
絶対に先生に刺されるっていう伝説の席に平気で座ってるやつ。なのに先生に刺されないのよね。そうそう、それであいつ知ってる？授業中ニナのことじっと見つめてるのよ。
So either this just crazy.
何が？決まってんじゃない。白馬の王子様よ。
Or he actually came.
彼は何と名乗っていましたか？
フランツ。しかし本当の名前ではない。
Michael Franz.
とまで話すほど彼はあなたに心を許していたんですか？
どこからともなく現れたフランツは向かいのフラットに住む子供のいない
Heinemann. That's the director's people, right?
正確に言うと1987年の3月から1988年の4月までの14ヶ月。
87, 88.
そしてある日突然姿を消した。彼は非常に頭が良かった。礼儀も心得ていた。1年。一人暮らしの私はいつでも彼を迎え入れた。そこの椅子に座り、彼はひたすら勉強を続けた。私の教える英語とフランス語をみるみるうちにマスターしていった。
Learning languages.
頃にはどちらも完璧に操れるようにな。
If you can communicate with people, you can get them to do things for you, right? And manipulate them and whatnot.
ことで思い出すようなことは
よく私の話すことに聞き入っていたよ。彼が特に興味を示したのは何の話だと思うね。
War stories? Yeah.
私は第二次大戦中、海軍で U ボートに乗っていた。彼がことのほか好んだのは、攻撃を受け我々は致命的な損傷を受けながら潜航を続けた。水圧できしむ艦内で我々はひたすら恐怖に耐えた。我々がこの世の地獄から生還したのは38時間後のことだった。しかし彼は違った。彼が最も興味を示したのは、恐怖だよ。
Alright.
究極の恐怖。死の淵に立った人間がどんな反応を示すのか。
Curiosity about it.
もてあそんでいた。
Pleasure. Sadism. Okay.
彼はどんな表情でその話を？
目を輝かせて笑みを浮かべていただろ。おそらく。
おそらく。
私は目が見えないからね。
Oh, he's blind. Okay.
私はあの子の本当の名前も知らなければ顔さえも知らないと。
That's why he'd like to stay with him, right?
あの子が私に心を許したと言ったね。彼は誰にも心を許したりはしない。あの子が本当に心を許したのはただ一人、妹だけだ。
私はその妹を探しているんです。
20歳になったら迎えに行くと言っていたよ。
どこへ？
ハイデルベルクだ。
He has a clue. Heidelberg.
バイク安全運転なさいよ。
パパ、行ってきます。
お、気をつけてな。そろそろだな。
でも
決めてたじゃないか。20歳の誕生日になったら言おうって。あの子は私たちの子じゃないって。
Adopted. This is always a hard moment, right? Because you never know how your child's gonna react. There's this fear and uncertainty in it.
ここで待ち合わせするように話つけといたんだからね。
うまくやりなさいよ、白馬の王子様と。
クララ、ベアで。もう勝手なことするんだから。
So is it him or is it not? Nah, it's not. It's not, okay. I mean, it doesn't look like him.
どうも、ニナ・フォルトナさん。
はい。
僕、オットー・フーベルマンと言います。
I don't ease into her, I guess.
どうも。
Ooh, but he's here. How do you feel when you look at him? What's the emotions going through you? But he doesn't make contact yet. And he's gone. I always like that in like spy thrillers and whatnot. Right? I gotta know, Born Trilogy or some shit. It's a really nice trick. Ooh. Alright. That is shock, right? Slowly indeed. I do wonder what the song here, like the D, is supposed to mean. Because it can mean a lot, right? It's all as it should be. Is it like the fight against windmills, maybe, right? You're fighting against something that you can't control or influence. Or is it on another level? I think there's more to this song. If there is, I might actually react to it one day. It's, just to kind of pick that up again. For the Love of Life, 𝐏𝐢𝐏𝐿. Alright. I generally haven't heard that before. If that is a famous song or something, I guess I haven't. I don't know. Oh, that is the English. I just heard a glimpse of the English. I was like, woo, okay. Interesting. But yeah. Back to YouTube, let's talk about it. Right, let's talk about it for a little bit. Sped up as always, you know the deal. We do have the typical, I love it how we take like the typical schoolgirl running to school trope and we subvert it. I don't even know if it was a trope back then, but I would assume so. Monster came out late enough that it was a trope, so. And subverted with University Girl actually running late because of her side job that she had last night. Maybe she's just been sleeping better. She has been saying like she's been not having these dreams, so maybe she slept through it. Or maybe she's still sleeping uneasy. Who knows, right? It could be either one of those two. Actually, let me put the subtitles on because, yes. Later on we find out it's Heidelberg. It was a shot in the dark, to be honest, because I do know that Heidelberg is a very, very famous university. It's a very popular one too. Mr. Eimer, okay. This is basically, this guy is called Mr. Bucket. I kid you not. What a name to be born with. I'm sorry. I mean, he looks like a bucket, so But yeah, you see all of these like, right, high noble fucking buildings, larger than life, all of that, and the professor is of course like is some old dude with like 90% of his hair not there anymore, half moon glasses. Looking, he's like, oh, okay, you're late once again, chronic latecomer, which is like, holy shit. But she memorized it. She is a good student, very bright, and her name is Nina Fortner. Now, interesting, right? I don't even, right, her name was Anna Liebert, and now it's Nina Fortner. And we, like, in a couple of, like, shots, we did have a doubt, right? Like a modicum of doubt that maybe it's really not her and it's a fake out. It could have been. Peter here tries his best, but she brushes it away. She's like, sorry, I can't. But he's been shut down a couple of times already. He's just, sorry, dude, you kind of lost her. Especially with Anna here, but also in general, dude. You from the first impression, like, obviously first impressions can be wrong, and he's at a prestigious university, which means to me that he's already very smart, but kind of an idiot, kind of an airhead. Seems like it. Not the best looking, not the worst looking either, but not the best looking. He ain't got no shot, dude. Long hair, with the nose, right? It kind of makes you believe he's kind of like one of those people who is how do you say that? Like a delinquent almost. Not really, but hard, like light. And she's doing judo, so she can actually defend herself. Really, really cool. I thought it was maybe karate first, but when I saw like this throw, I was like, yeah, that's textbook judo. Using your own body weight against you. It could be something else, right? There's a lot of like traditions that are derived from that. I don't know if I want to believe, like, obviously I'm gonna believe it because this is how they display it, but how realistic it is to have pizza delivery services in the 1990s, like mid 1990s. Even if it's in a city, I don't know, dude. I don't know if like Uber Eats or DoorDash, something along those lines has been. I mean, obviously single restaurants here and there do it. But how long have they been doing it? I don't know. I mean, to be fair, like, it's been a thing in America, but it's been a thing in America for a far longer time than it has been in Germany. So this is why I'm kind of like, was it really a thing? Because I don't remember it being a thing when I grew up, but I also didn't grow up in a city, like in a big city, but more in a rural area. Heidelberg, though, is a smaller city. I think they shouldn't have more than 100,000 people. And back in the day, like in the 90s, they probably had even less. It's very, very hill, like very uneven city, right? There's a lot of hills and mountains around, and like a lot of beautiful nature, and a river running straight through it. It's one of the very, like, the most coveted study locations, even not regarding the fact that the university is one of the supposedly most prestigious ones when it comes to, at the very least, stuff like medicine and law and like the more humanitarian or philosophical directions of study. Now there's technical stuff, but Heidelberg isn't specialized in that. Technical universities are more in, I would say, probably Frankfurt, or, well, Frankfurt is more business. Probably more in Karlsruhe and similar areas. We have kind of like a small equivalent of the MIT, which is like the KIT over here. It's the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. There's a lot of like technical stuff going on here. But yeah, she's a bright girl. She's very positive in her attitude. Seems to have a really nice family. I do love the attention to detail here, right? The kitchen you would expect it to look like that, a kitchen in a city with like a family home kitchen. Apples, one of our favorite fruits. Also, like almost everybody, like I mean, a lot of people do have apple trees, cherry trees, whatever, in their garden. When, especially in rural places, you do have the blinders on the window, because in some cities you don't have. I think in Baden-Württemberg you should have more. Like Baden-Württemberg, to be like to explain this to you, it's a state, right? Like North Rhine-Westphalia and Berlin. Berlin is like a city-state. Because we're a federal republic, we have different states, like the US. Not quite like the US, but similarly. Yeah, and we do have that, like, a nice father, of course, reading the newspaper. I think that there was a thing back in the day when people were like, if you're so old, you shouldn't be dyeing your hair, especially with women, so I don't know. Kind of maybe a fragment of the times back then when you were like, that it's not okay to deceive people, or if it was like, I don't know, stay in your lane. I'm not versed enough to know why it was a saying, but yeah, definitely. And these are all the pictures, right, of her being small, but don't maybe this is what I'm cooking up, right? Let me cook. We do have all these pictures of a little girl, supposedly a little girl, with these parents, right? And we do know she is most definitely has not been with them before she was 10 years old. So here's my theory. They had a little daughter. She died. Then they went to adopt one. And they adopted her. And they, as much as it is, in my opinion, morally terrible, they should have just put those in a different, like, folder somewhere where they can look at it. But, right? And made her believe that's her. But it's interesting how eerily familiar this little girl looks to what we, right, how to Anna Liebert in the previous episodes and to her right now. But at the same time, they probably would have been looking for somebody who looks similar, who seems like maybe also have a similar temperament, right? Because try to fill that void somewhere, right? Replacement is not a way necessarily, but they found somebody they can take care of and somebody they cared about, and you do see that they care about her. But she doesn't remember that, and that creates some kind of like weird feeling of incongruency. I don't even know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean. And she's getting that email, and just, you know what time it is, right, in terms of like the 90s. If a character does look at something like that and isn't immediately creeped out, we know we're pre-2000, we're pre-information age, right? We're just at the beginning of computers being a thing and emails being a thing and the internet. Because these days, a person like getting something like that, especially if it's so poetically, amorously worded, it wouldn't be like, oh, I wonder who that was. It would be like, holy shit, I need to watch out, right? I need to call the police now. But yeah, I mean, she's a bright and positive girl, and her taking it this way makes sense, especially given her attitude and the times in combination. I don't know what I think about this counselor. We talk about her bad dreams, which is good to know, right? Monster appearing. It's common for people to become insecure during their student years. Dreams of the future become confused with other insecurities. Yeah, I mean, he's very vague and generous in that regard, right? And you lose sight of who you are. That's a non-statement to me. That's like, I'm gonna tell you something that's generally true, might be applicable to your situation, but not really, and not specifically, right? He's just explaining to her, yeah, this is normal, whatever, right? He's not trying to, I mean, then again, we haven't seen all the counseling sessions. It could very well be that in the beginning he has been feeling her out and being like, okay, what's right? What are your emotions? Do you have any, like, what are your bad dreams based on? We're going in, like, dream analysis. That's a thing in various forms of psychotherapy. Obviously, he could have done that, and now we're at the stage where he thinks she's very stable emotionally. He doesn't know about her past, possibly. We don't know. And he's just trying to reassure her that, yeah, sometimes you just have phases where you're more stressed or you got insecurities, right? You be unsure about yourself, and right. Yeah, spend your whole life and never discover. And he's right in that regard, right? Searching for the things you burn for, right? Searching for your passion. Especially back then, it was a lot harder. These days, back in the day, I don't know, in the 90s were kind of golden time in my opinion, because you could almost become anything. Not really, because the chances these days are a lot better, and restrictions are a lot less for entry to get into various things. At the same time, back then, right, and before that time especially, you were more restricted in what life path you took, depending on what your parents, like what social system, like what social level they were from, right, social class, what kind of schools you went to and whatever. You were more restricted in that regard, right? And what stuff, like what employers were in your area. These days you're more like overwhelmed by the multitude of choices that you possibly have, and the problem is you have to spend years to get into any of these various paths, career paths. You spend years for that, and suddenly you look back and you're like, maybe that's not what I would have wanted, right? So you're almost, back then you're restricted by the outside. Now you're restricted by yourself because you don't know what's right necessarily. And sadly enough, in my opinion, there's not, like, schools still don't apply as much of like real world practice, right? Going out, doing a lot of like just internships and whatnot. They don't apply that as much, especially when you're an intern. You're just like doing stuff that's got little to do with the thing itself. You're just seeing other people do it, and maybe you can just dip your tiny little your smallest pinky in there, but oftentimes people don't trust you enough to give you any kind of responsibility. Which is different when you're a student, but when you're a student, you're already in a field where you're working towards a degree or something of a career path. And at that point, people are more like, okay, you know what, I can give you some of the responsibility because you have kind of proven that you're ready for it. But at that point, you're already this far into it that many students just, at some point in time, decide, damn, this is not what I really wanted to do. I want to study something else. And if they then still have the possibility to do something else, you don't know. But yeah, again, tangent. Like I said, this is like, but I can't help but feel that her cheerfulness is a reaction to something she's running away from. Yeah, possibly, right? That is a possibility. I like that statement. I underline that statement, right? That this cheerfulness could be, in a way, due to her blocking out certain memories. Although I don't think it would change her nature, right? Aside from brain damage, I don't think that there's anything that can change you so fundamentally. So I would assume that she probably has a cheerful temperament, and the only thing that's, at the moment, that's not completely true to herself or fake or however you want to call it, is the fact that she doesn't remember that part of her life with Johann, with her parents, the Lieberts, back in the day, and all the things, the like traumatic things that happened during that time. Some vast darkness. This is like the statement where I was like, oh, okay, dude. Okay. Like, no counselor talks to themselves like this or to others. Okay? Look. But it's cool. We're going for it for like dramatic effect, and it's fine. Like, I mean, to be honest, universities pretty much look these days like they used to look. Maybe some of the chairs are a little bit more modern looking. You got the whiteboards now, and you got like projectors and whatnot where you can watch movies on, like documentaries or whatever, or important like scientific interviews with people in the field or whatever, looking at cases, and obviously the projectors are for the sheets that the professors use for the lectures, but not a lot has changed, honestly. Not a lot has changed. Some of these rooms, especially in Germany, they still contain like the old, really old ass sitting places. Probably like a good 20 or 30 years of students have sat on that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and she's remembered that case where like cold-blooded murder of a family, and she's suddenly she's getting these flashbacks, right? We do have a full or almost full-blown panic attack, right? Blurry vision, muscles are cramping up, right? You're starting to jitter. I don't know if you call it like, yeah, you're starting to jitter. You can't concentrate anymore. The words don't come to you, right? Suddenly you do feel like you feel the vision is narrowing down, right? Maybe your heart rate is increased. You're starting to get cold sweat across your back. That's typical sign of a panic attack. And I would even assume that, yeah, she's speaking right now to the class and whatnot, but I would assume that like in reality, if this happened in reality, people would be looking at you because they would expecting you to say something, right? But these shocked faces, not everyone would notice you being this, right? This out of it immediately. I do think that oftentimes if you're having a panic attack, this is also something that comes in addition to it. You suddenly think all eyes are on you and people are judging you and think you're weird and whatever. That is also a social element of that, right? There is something that's called like agoraphobia, which is basically fear of a panic attack. You are so afraid that you're gonna have a panic attack and lose control and not being able to contain that, and ultimately maybe even die of a heart attack or something, that you're not willing to go out into public spaces anymore. Which is, I mean, how do you start to treat that? I mean, obviously we do have ways to treat that, but that's heavy, right? And that's not someone just being, like he says in a couple of seconds right here, I didn't expect you to be so soft or something along those lines. It's just sometimes things connect to us on a deeper level and we're just taken out of it, and that's human, that's normal, right? Right? There's things that and I mean, we can learn to deal with this, right? We can learn to, but many people have spent a lot of their lifetime trying to get these things under control for themselves, or to find a way to process it properly and sit down and be like, yes, it's fine, I'm all right, everything is fine, right? And sometimes in the beginning that doesn't help, right? You're in it, you're like, life-threatening situation, basically, right? If you have a trauma, the trauma is a life-threatening situation. You're being basically in your mind cast back into that, to varying degrees, of course, right? It depends on the situation. It depends on like what kind of like mental disorder you do have. PTSD, for example, is the prime example, right? War, loud noises, artillery shells flying around, explosions, pain, bullets, adrenaline, stress. It's endless, right? So all of these things can be triggers later, and SA is also a very, very big one where you're going back in your mind. Now, witnessing a murder can be very traumatic, right? Especially if it's your own parents' murder and possibly, I don't know what happened in her mind, possibly also the murder of her brother. So, yeah. 100% understandable, but obviously back in the day, psychology, even today, psychology is still like, yeah, I mean, it's important, but right? And then there's all these things like nut job or he's crazy, they need help, and that's negative connotations, right? but we need to destigmatize. We need to understand that a lot of our experiences are just like, this is natural, right? A natural response to what you went through in your own perception, in your own subjective perception. Yes, sometimes there are people who go through or almost the exact same thing. The different people, they handle it differently, right? Maybe they'll get through it without retaining a major amount of mental damage, right? It's not like, yeah. I mean, it's a spectrum, right? Maybe you feel where one person at the sign of the trigger feels uneasy at that point, another person has a full-blown panic attack, but that doesn't mean the other person is weaker. Just means that the trauma they experienced was more intense, even if it was supposedly, right, from a third-person perspective, maybe very similar. And we're in Köln, and we find out all of these identities of Johann, Michael, Franz. Tenma looks very rough, right? With the stubbles, you see that he's not taking care of himself. I don't know what he's doing with his, like, as a doctor now. Did he take a vacation, or does he have, like, does he take sick days now or whatever? And he's, bald werde ich dich abholen. Soon I'll take you with me. Roughly translate. And Tenma is finding somebody, old man, blind, interesting, blind, World War veteran, and he tells you about Johann. Again, very surprised, a lot of changing outfits. I have to commend them for that. Tenma too, right? Tenma doesn't always have the same suit. Here, like, she changed clothes, I think, a third time now. So, very good attention to detail here with all of that. And we do tell the story. He seems to have a sadistic streak, right? He seems to enjoy these stories of terror in other people. And I wonder where this fascination comes from, right? Because it has to come from somewhere. People aren't just born monsters. They're not monsters. They're damaged individuals, right? They're not born like this. They might be born with a lack of capacity for empathy, right? They might be born with that. They might be born with the requirements, right? The genetic dispositions to make it more likely for them to become mentally ill or full-blown, right, antisocial personality disorder, whatever. But it takes an outside force for it to be this way, right? It takes a trigger. It takes a. I mean, obviously, this is also a little bit philosophical, right, and a little bit educational. In educational psychology, there's different subcategories, right? People believe in a different image of a human being. There was, I think it was Descartes who believed that human being is inherently good and you'd have to leave them alone completely, right? They would have to grow up without any societal guidance and whatever. And then they would develop to their best, which we have had cases like this, and of people like children who grew up in the wild and whatnot, and they weren't able to really properly communicate or control their anger or other stuff. It was really hard, and they died pretty early as well, so don't know how true that is. And obviously there's other direction who say it, for example, like humans are inherently evil and you have to educate the evil out of them, which I also don't believe. I do believe that humans are inherently neutral, right? Neutral, leaning towards good, because good means whatever is good for me. And if you have a family, a loving family that gives you attention, whatever, then whatever is good for your family is most of the time also good for you. And so this is how it develops in terms of the structure. So I do believe that there has to be something happening to somebody for this to actually take effect. Obviously there's fringe, very, very rare fringe cases in which maybe some child has a genetic neurological defect where this doesn't apply, right? Because we can't because they don't have capabilities that they should have as humans, empathy, for example. But I do believe, like, for Johan, that there needs to be, like, was it the bullet in the head that was the trigger? That's the question. Or was it before that? Because we do know that Anna Liebert was pretty disturbed, but she also witnessed two and a half murders, right? So we don't know for sure. And this is Heinemann. He said he lived with the Heinemanns. So Heinemann was the director, if I remember correctly. So I do wonder if it was the director's daughter who took him, but that's kind of unlikely that she would take in a child and that she would have a husband and whatever. So very, very, very strange for me. But we'll find out if there is a connection to that later on. World War II stories, U-boat. I don't know if they show Heidelberg that well. I hope there's a couple of shots that are better. Fainting is not a thing that doesn't happen, by the way. It can very well happen, right? Heart rate drops, blood pressure, whatever, and your body is going into protection mode, right? Obviously. And obviously oxygen shortly you don't get enough oxygen for your brain for a short period, and then obviously you would maybe faint, right? And that can happen due to stress. It's not unheard of. So yeah, I do wonder. We do see the parents here, Void. I don't know who this gentleman is, but yeah. Maybe police detective or something. Yeah, looking forward to seeing where this will lead us, which more cities we will see, and what we can expect of the next episodes. Very cool. Very interesting. Threw me for a loop in episode 4 that we did have the reveal already that Johan is the killer of all of these murders that we've been privy to so far, and that Tenma actually knows it now and is hunting him more or less. Looks worse for wear, looks rough. I do wonder how he goes about. I mean, he probably has enough money at this point as chief of surgeon, whatever. He probably could take a year off. He could be like, oh, hey, you know what? And yes, he could lose his position as a result of that, but the guild is eating him up, that poor fucking guy. And yeah, we'll see where this leads him. If he's gonna be the one to finally take down Johan in the end, or to arrest him, or yeah, kill him or arrest him. I mean, he can't make an arrest, but get him arrested, right? And if he meets Anna Liebert and what they are gonna do, I mean, many of the patients have said that he was kind of like a father to them. If he does retain these fatherly qualities, maybe this is how it can seem to Anna Liebert as well, right? A father or an uncle or whatever who's trying his best to kind of protect her, because obviously she is the other piece of the puzzle. She is the one who he also not directly saved, but at the very least took care of during this time in the hospital. So he cares for both of them. And when he sees that the brother is somebody who's like a deeply disturbed individual killing other people, maybe his saving grace in his mind is, if I protect her from her brother, and if I find a way to get like to stop the brother from doing any more harm, then maybe I have at least partially atoned for my sin, because this is how he's gonna see it. We just know it. First of all, Japanese attitude. Second of all, the way Tenma is in general, as we've seen from the beginning on. Yeah, cares about people, feels guilty even if he might have not been able to do anything, right? Or didn't know what he was doing in this case, right? In this case of saving the boy. But he's gonna feel guilty. And this is gonna eat him up if he's not doing anything about it, and he's doing something about it right now. And this is like, guilt can be a heavy motivator, especially if it comes from your own morality. It's one thing to be feeling guilty about something that people kind of shun you for and say like, this is not a good thing to do, shame on you. It's another thing to feel guilty about something that you feel like violates your own principles of morality that you grew up with. That is much deeper, that is much more tied with your own identity and how you see yourself. I can see Tenma being very desperate, right? I can see him going all the way to unalive attempts, although he would probably more choose the thing that he can actually do, because in this case he can do something about it, and what he can do is try to stop Johann and try to find the sister and maybe protect her, and also through the sister find out more things about Johann. That was Monster episode 4 and 5. It took a little bit longer than expected, but I hope you enjoy it nonetheless. If you do like my content and want to see more Monster and want to also see some other stuff like 𝐏𝐢𝐏𝐿, which is coming soon. I do have Made in Abyss, which is probably at this point almost a finished series, at least if you're watching this on YouTube. The patrons we still might have 1 or 2 episodes left on Patreon. I don't know yet how we do that. I have at the very least already recorded the penultimate episode of Made in Abyss, so. If you want to see Frieren is finished now too, or if you want to see some other stuff that comes later on, we have Technolize, which is going to take the bocce spot after, and we have Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, which is occasionally coming because the interest is not as big, so I'm like, you know what, we can take it easy with that, right? Every once in a while, and the couple of people that watch it, I'm really appreciating that. It's also now on the like Patreon early access. It's on the lowest tier because I realized that. But yeah, check out the Patreon if that's something for you. Early access on there, and check out my Discord links down below. Give me a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.